Over the past few years, this ship has solidified a reputation as the go-to cargo freighter in the game. I'm Forrester, and in this video I'll be reviewing the Star Citizen ship, the Drake Caterpillar. Star Citizen is currently in alpha testing, with the Caterpillar as one of the flyable ships. The Drake Caterpillar is described as a transport freighter and does have room for multiple crew members. For those who've seen other ship reviews on this channel, you'll recognise the usual format for this video. I've split into 5 sections, starting with a ship tour, assessing combat performance, reviewing handling and visibility, looking at the operating costs before finally summarising. I've included timestamps in the video description to help navigate to each part of the review, and considering that over 85% of people who watch these videos aren't yet subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe to be notified of future videos. Part 1. Ship Tour. Main access to the Caterpillar is via a deployed elevator on the underside of the ship. The elevator, in keeping with the Drake theme, has a suitably industrial feel to it, and that flows through into the elevator room. This is on the lower of the 2 decks of the Caterpillar. Moving forward from the elevator room takes into the habitation space. There's a table with consoles in the middle, as well as various ablutions, and 2 beds on the far side. Moving forward on the lower deck takes through into each of the cargo modules. This is where the actual cargo space of the Caterpillar is stored. These modules do span across both decks of the Caterpillar. Each of these is theoretically airlocked, and there are 4 primary rooms that all follow the same layout. The sides to each of these is able to deploy independently, which is great for loading up snubcraft. Additionally, there is a ladder access in each of the rooms which leads up to the top deck. Right at the front of the Caterpillar is a similar cargo room, however it does follow a slightly different theme than the others, in that the cargo ramp opens to the front instead of to the sides. Moving back through the Caterpillar on the lower deck. Pass through each of the airlocked cargo modules. Back through the habitation room. Back through the elevator access, and this leads to the engineering access. In here we find access to the lower turrets, as well as the engineer station and various components, and a ladder which takes up to the upper deck. There's also a stairway which leads up to the upper deck. In the centre hallway from the upper deck, the first room on the right is the cargo operator's room. This is on the opposite side to the cockpit. There's a station and good views around the Caterpillar. At the back is some of the more engineering style stations. This includes the power plant and server access. Can feel a little bit like a maze sometimes. Right at the back of the top deck is the ladder access from the engineering below. Moving forward to the center hallway on the top deck, there is EVA access which leads to an airlock on the top of the Caterpillar. There is also an upper walkway on the port side of each of the cargo modules. This is the upper walkway that can be reached via the ladder from the lower side. There's an additional set of controls for opening and closing the sides up on the upper hallway. Right at the front cargo module is also access to the upper turret of the Caterpillar. It's worth mentioning that with a full haul of cargo, this upper hallway is the only effective way to access the front of the ship, as cargo will block the lower hallway. And finally, off to the side of the central hallway on the upper deck is the main cockpit. At the front is the pilot seat, seated behind him a co-pilot seat. There are also 2 crew seats on either side. At the back of the cockpit is a ladder which leads down to the lower side of the cockpit. The idea here is that the ship could, in theory, separate off and be an independent escape pod. So there are another 2 beds, some seating, and at the front, tractor beam control. Part 2. Combat Performance. The Caterpillar armament is spread across the weapons on the pilot module and the upper and lower turrets. The 2 manned turrets are both armed with 2 size 4 weapons and represent most of the firepower that the Caterpillar brings to bear. The pilot controls 2 turret-mounted size 3 weapons and 2 gimbaled size 2 weapons. These can be changed to another 2 fixed size 3 weapons should you choose, although the Caterpillar is one of the ships that benefits from a more generous gimbal. Altogether, that makes for a reasonable amount of firepower when the turrets are manned. I'd definitely say that the Caterpillar is more defensive in nature, given the manoeuvrability and turret layout. That said, the size 3 shield generator is pretty reasonable and does a good job of keeping the Caterpillar safe. Without getting too detailed about manoeuvrability, keeping the guns on target can be a little more challenging for the pilot. This is definitely a ship you want to use at medium to longer ranges. And it's worth mentioning that there are no missile mounts at all, so it's guns only. Part 3. Handling and Visibility. So, at the cost of not choosing my words carefully here, the Caterpillar handles like a truck. But it's supposed to. It's essentially made for space trucking. It has a sluggish feel to each movement, is slow to accelerate and decelerate, and it does feel like you're lugging around a lot of mass. In terms of handling, that's a bad thing, but in terms of realism and immersion, that's a really good thing. It's largely the same story both in a vacuum and planet side. Within atmosphere, the Caterpillar actually feels a little more consistent to regular performance than some other options, but that's consistently sluggish. That said, it's fairly easy to land the Caterpillar, and the rugged landing gear is fairly forgiving. In terms of visibility, the placement of the pilot seat off to the port side of the Caterpillar takes a little getting used to, but offers a good view out to the front of the ship, and reminds the pilot of the scale of the ship. In keeping with Drake's style, the view is not unobstructed, yet still manages to afford sightlines all around. And the Quantum Drive does a decent job with the Caterpillar. The stock version isn't the quickest, but offers a reasonable traverse time and, critically, good range between refuels. Part 4. Operating costs. Starting with the rearm, refuel and repair costs, they do start to add up in the Caterpillar. I'd expect costs to be 3,000 to 5,000 Alpha UEC during regular usage. That said, those pale into insignificance when the money-making potential of the Caterpillar is considered. Pretty much any contract type can be completed with this ship. Moreover, the profits from doing cargo runs are legendary. Although the current patch has reduced them slightly, the Caterpillar can still turn a profit notwithstanding the refuel costs. One thing to be careful of is the high risk element of running cargo. At the moment, the bigger risk here is due to 30k server errors and disconnects rather than other ships. But making money in the Caterpillar often requires considerable upfront investment, so isn't for the faint of heart. Part 5. The Verdict. During the introduction, the opening remark was that the Caterpillar is seen as the de facto cargo runner in Star Citizen right now. Most of the people who made their fortune in-game did so with the Caterpillar. Accordingly, the verdict on this ship always correlates closely to the state of cargo running in the game. In the current patch, mining is much more in vogue, but bold players can still turn some tidy profits with cargo running. It would be almost criminal to fail to mention the reputation of the Caterpillar as a Drake ship. Drake has a reputation as a manufacturer of having ships favoured by those who fall on the wrong side of the law, such as pirates. Therefore, the Caterpillar offers a clearly interesting choice to such players. The Caterpillar comes in at $295 or 4.2 million Alpha UEC in-game. For traders, both are actually a reasonable price point. The Caterpillar can operate solo or is a good base for a small group of players. Compared to some of the other ships at this price point, such as the Constellation Aquila, the Caterpillar offers good money-making potential, as well as an element of versatility for players not looking for a highly manoeuvrable ship. When ships such as the Hull series become available, or the Hercules Starlifter, I would expect the Caterpillar to have more competition in this space, but until then it represents a good solid choice. If you found this review helpful, you may also be interested in my review of the Drake Cutlass. Please also subscribe if you'd like to see future Star Citizen content, and check out the video description for details of my active Star Citizen organisation. Thank you for watching.